Hey guys, how's it going? Josh Hernandez here with Mad Charcoal, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to pull this face out of chaos. So I'll have my reference in the top corner, maybe like around here, so you guys can see. My reference as I go along. It's just a simple Pinterest reference I found. I kind of like the way the light's hitting the face, and I think it allows for a lot of interpretation and expression, and within enough room to be able to create something that's actually recognizable. So I'm going to start off with this compressed charcoal. It's a 4B piece of a thicker one, like a wide piece of charcoal, not a normal one, but it doesn't really matter. You can use either one. It's what kind of charcoal is it? Let's see. I think it's just the usual General's charcoal. Okay, let's get right into it. So I want my face to be a good size. This is 14 by 17 Strathmore drawing paper, 400 series, which is a good texture to it, not too hard, not too smooth. Oops, no marks there, it's okay. And a good weight to be able to have a finished, decent quality weight to it, finished drawing, so it's not just sketch paper. Okay, so I see the shadow is on the right mostly, and I want to kind of establish that early and then kind of get the edge of where the head's going to be on the left. So I'm going to just go down here, and I see that like there's like this shape to the outside of his face there, and there's another shadow that comes across the middle of his face diagonal this way, so I'm going to drop that in too. And they might not be exactly where I want them to be, but I'm just going to feel out where I think there should be some light and dark. My plan is to come back in with a blending stump to be able to kind of create a little bit more midtones and skin tones and smoother tones, because it tends to be a little bit toothy with the paper. With just one stroke of charcoal, you get this like almost black and white texture, grainy texture that I don't really want much of. But what I'm doing is I'm squinting. I'm trying to see if my sketch lines up at all with what the reference looks like while I squint. That way, it's a lot easier to get details in when values and when proportions are more accurate. And it's easier to push and pull light and dark when everything is located reasonably correct. Not too perfect, but I am squinting a lot and looking at my reference quite a bit. I look at my reference almost more than I look at my drawing, because if I look at my drawing too long, I'm going to start to get lost in the piece and not establish accurate proportions. I'm just going to kind of be doing whatever I want to make, and it's going to look further from what the reference looks like, and I'm going to start just kind of drawing what is in my mind, which we don't really want if we want a different piece or like a accurate piece. And not accurate as long, and within it's still going to be expressive, if that makes sense, but I'm not too worried about the extra strokes and chaos. So I like to add some chaos and then pull the actual finished drawing out of it, so that here's a couple different blending stump sizes. I'm going to use the larger one. So I really want a lot of the detail to be in this part of the face here, where you can see where the light hits, and I want everything to kind of go off from there. So first I need a good foundation to work with, and I'm also going to put extra strokes all over through the drawing. So here we go. Kind of lighten up that area. Get some crazy strokes in there too, because the outside edges look a lot nicer when it looks like they loosen up towards the outside, and then everything kind of collects toward the middle and remains, or kind of captures a sense of realism towards the middle. And it's okay if you go too dark. You could always lighten up, but I kind of left those areas white, and then when I blend over them with the other extra material that's out here, it gives us this nice mid-tone. And I still have my shadows mostly. So now I'm going to take a kneaded eraser. I'm going to give it a nice chiseled shape. Like that. So far we used compressed charcoal and the blending stump. And now I'm going to just start to block in a little bit of, it's okay if I go a little too far and everything like that, but I'm going to start to block in some lights. And, sorry, my wife just opened the door. In my studio. Dancing or something like that. It's funny. Anyway, so here we go. I love you, babe. Anyway. So I really want to get these lights. I'm checking the angles of I'm blocking in shapes pretty much. And I'm looking at the relative, how these shapes relate to one another to be able to get them accurate. All right. I dropped that. Cool. I have tons more pieces of, I have all of my stuff down here. Most of my stuff, and then some of the stuff in this box here. I can just reach over and grab it whenever. There's a bunch of random charcoal drawing materials. Okay, where were we at? Right there. That's good. Okay. So I see there's this like continuous line kind of through there. So I'll block in the light right here. And some of the lip right there. And I want to get these basically correct, not super accurate yet. Because if you start to draw the details in and like you're like, oh, the eyelid's right here. I'm not going to even mess with the eyelid yet because I'm not even sure if all that is correct. I'm going to push and pull the bigger shapes long before I'm going to do any of the details. And since I don't know who this person is and it's just a random person I'm trying to make a cool drawing of, I'm not going to worry too much about capturing the likeness all that much. I'm going to just be more concerned with making it a successful, nice, good to look at drawing. I like how I'm going to lighten this area up because I want it to, the shadow area to just kind of fade off into space. Let's see here. So I'm liking the way it's kind of coming out. There's an ear here that kind of captures some light. So maybe kind of put something resembling that, but not exactly. Let's see. My pug is barking in the background. Sorry about that. We got a puppy. He's a pug. His name is Chewbacca. He's really cool. It's really cute. All right, so I have a Primo charcoal pencil. What softness is it? HB for some of the details now. It's on a pencil extender, just so that it's a little bit easier to reach certain points. If the pencil gets shorter, I'm going to sharpen it just a little bit. With a regular sharpener. Usually I sharpen these with knives, but that's a little bit time consuming, so I'm just going to go back in with the pencil sharpener and just grab an easy to work with tip. And usually I prep my pencils before drawings, but sometimes I'm just a little lazy. And by a little, I mean a lot. Okay, so I'm kind of adjusting these shapes, getting them a little more accurate. I'm okay with leaving the details out of the dark, out of the shadow areas, because what's more important is the detail in the light areas, because of course, if you haven't seen my videos before, I stress this all the time, that people's eyes naturally focus on light. So you want to have your light to be, your light areas and your lit areas to be very detailed and nice and cleaned up and thoughtful and accurate compared to the shadow areas you can be kind of whatever with. And it kind of adds this dynamic that's really nice and very cool to look at if the shadow area is very rough and the light area is really detailed and nice and satisfying. So while I'm doing this, I am making sure not just to compare the proportions to each other, but also the values to each other. An easy way to do that is to squint your eyes, of course, just like proportions, and figure out what really is dark and what is lighter. Because if you start to narrow your sight down too quickly and too small, then you start to lose that accuracy that you want. Because no matter how expressive this piece is going to be, if you give it elements of some accuracy, that's what kind of juxtaposes the expressivism. If you have something that's super expressive and also really bad when it comes to proportions, it's not going to be nice to look at. It's not going to be a successful drawing. But if you really take your time getting your proportions right and mastering your proportions and then getting really expressive with your work, it tends to look a lot nicer. And you're gonna be like, wow, like this person is like kind of messing around with this, but they know what they're doing, you know? I like that sense of work. So I think this paper towel, I think it needs a little bit of a blend going on here. Mostly to the face. I don't want to get too crazy with it because then I'm going to lose some of the qualities that I've pushed in already. So that kind of brought everything a little bit more soft towards the light area and gradations of the shadows. But I want to pop some of these highlights back out. So when I squint, the first thing I really see is this strong light area here. I think that's the lightest part of the drawing, or the lightest part of the reference here. So I'll just make sure I pop that in a little bit. I'm just not going too crazy with it, but. And then underneath the eye right here, to the left of the eye, on the cheekbone. Also, it's really good to be able to be aware of human anatomy when you're drawing people. It makes the drawing process a lot easier, and it's not always exactly correct for every person, but it's a great way to make sure that you're being reasonably accurate with your drawings, and it makes them look so much nicer, and you have like a foundation to work on, not just copying what you see, which can tend to look flat or off easily. It's all about those principles of art, guys. Those foundation skills. So now that I'm kind of happy where everything is, it's not exact, and it has a lot of imperfections, but I might push it a little further. I like that highlight in the nose, so I'm going to establish like a lighter area here on the nose. It's still not as light as the lightest part of the drawing, but it's a good shape to build off of, and there's another even lighter area that goes right across here. I'm making the point of the eraser a little bit sharper, and then kind of just lightening that area. This area is pretty light too. I'm losing some of this shape of this under lip right here. There's kind of a hard line here that I'm not capturing, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that out and then come back in with the pencil and darken that area in a moment. This area here is definitely lighter than what the eye is showing me, so I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit, but keep it shadow. We're in relative shadow. There's a little white light here on the other side of the lip. A little indentation, there we go. Maybe soften that up, it's a little too strong. Cool. And that meets the light pretty good there. Kind of lose some of the break of the chin in that area. I don't want it to be too strong. Let's see. Blend that out just a little more. And I'm going to come in with that under eyelid here. Looks pretty bright. And then it comes across and then kind of lose it into the shadow. There we go. I don't even have any detail in the eye whatsoever yet, but I'm starting to see it a little bit. It looks like there's a little bit of some balanced light that's hitting, a reflective light that's hidden around here, and I'm going to make sure that that's very sensitive and not too bright, because then it's going to start to look very artificial. Yeah, that's okay, reasonable. I could work on this tons more, but we'll keep it nice and quick for today's lesson. This highlight here goes all the way up to, should go all the way up to the nostril almost. I'm going to pick that up just a little bit. Yeah, that's okay. A lot of everything is erasing and lifting the light out of the darkness. The dark side. Cool. I'm not exactly happy with all of these shapes, but I would just keep adjusting and pushing and pulling, and eventually you start to get a lot better of a foundation to work with. And you build on your foundation until you have a really successful drawing. Stick to what you know. If you need to adjust something, adjust it. Don't just try to make it work. Even if you spend a lot of time on the nose and you figure out the nose is kind of messed up in a different area, you should probably try to change it, draw over it. And I wouldn't recommend erasing out whatever you messed up on. I would recommend drawing over and finding the right area of where it should be, and then kind of adjusting with your eraser, not necessarily just erasing it out and messing up again over and over again. Because if I have messed up this nose somehow, and it should be a little further out this way, I would kind of draw in where I want it before I erase out what's wrong. Otherwise, if I just erase out what's wrong, I might end up making the same mistake. That's just something that I came across that made it easier for myself. But that's kind of how I lift out a drawing out of chaos, a portrait out of chaos, and find the face underlying in there somewhere. And it's a good exercise. Nothing too intense. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if this helped you at all. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else in the future. And check out my shop at mattcharcoal.com/shop if you want to buy any pieces, or get the art kit of all the materials I used here, including better ones, better stuff like pan pastel and all that you can utilize in the same sense. But you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one, guys.